How's it going today, folks? Rob from the Make Ridge Homestead Tree Farm. Still waiting on irrigation. Coast to coast have to be making a racket. Always the way. Yeah, so still waiting on irrigation. Haven't been on that yet. So I'm still clearing some branches away and paddling around with other things like that while I wait for the irrigation to come on. But today I wanted to talk about why you want to plant poplars. There's a lot of people out there that really don't like poplars, and I think there's some valid reasons why people don't like them, but there's a lot of good reasons why they should have them. So let's talk a little bit about that. Poplars are a great shelter belt tree, fast growing, drought tolerant, and lots of size to them, so they can really shelter the wind real well. So there's a couple of big benefits, but a few of the lesser known benefits. They can increase the amount of moisture in the air, and they can actually increase the growth rate of plants on the ground. A couple of ways they do this, we'll talk about in just a moment. But first, how do they increase moisture? Well, poplar trees are deeper rooted trees. They send some roots quite far down. Not as deep as some of the tap rooted trees, of course, but they still send some good roots down. They'll find some of the deeper water that some of the surface crops can't access. This is one way they increase moisture, is by seeking out some of that deeper moisture. Bring it up to the surface and evaporate it out of their leaves. Depending on the study, there's a few different numbers out there that mature poplar can evaporate anywhere from 100 to 2 gallons of water a day. In 200 gallons, that's one of these IBC tanks, full, every day. That's how much water they'll put into the air. And this water will do a couple of things. It increases the moisture in the air, the humidity level, so your plants will lose less moisture, your veggie garden or your crops or whatever. So they'll lose less moisture from having higher humidity, and then of course they provide shelter, so they will reduce the wind speed levels, and that'll also reduce evaporation levels. Additional factor that I have on that, shade. Shade from trees will reduce the ground surface temperatures quite a bit, so that further reduces moisture loss. So kind of three different ways there that they add moisture. So how does this help the crops grow more? Obviously more moisture for the crops is a good thing, it helps them grow better. Less wind, less evaporation, helps them grow better. They can also create microclimates. But the effect of this is quite surprising, actually. A study done in the US a few years ago came back and said a wheat field planted with poplars every 320 meters in rows, they had yield increases of up to 16%. I mean, that's a massive amount of yield increase just from planting poplars. The added bonus to that is there was less land to get that yield, so less land planted means less seed, less fertilizer. So that's a big increase. Now the average, of course, wasn't as high as 16%. Average was around 8% increase in yield, but when you factor in you lost 5% of the land to the trees themselves, getting 8% extra yield while planting 5% less, that's a big bonus in the bottom line. 5% less planting, 5% less seed, 5% less fertilizer, 5% less herbicide, yet you get a yield increase overall. If you're getting 100 tons of yield before poplars being planted, if you get 108 tons after them planted, that's a big increase. Factor in that you just spent 5% less on planting them, and really helps your bottom line. In the study, the worst case scenario they said was they lost 4% yield in the absolute worst case scenario, but they still planted 5% less land, so it's still a net increase per square or per acre of yield. It's just there's a little bit less acres planted. So bottom line is it's actually still better even if they lost a little yield, because still planted less land, so save some money there and gain a little money on the bottom line. Amount of evaporation from poplars, of course, creates another effect which is beneficial: evaporative cooling. If you don't know what that is, it's basically a process where evaporating water takes more energy out of the air than if you didn't have the water evaporating in the first place. And what this means is downwind of the trees is you can have cooler temperatures because of the evaporation from them. It's just another way that they help make your crops grow better and your environment better around your house, you know. Get a good shelter belt going. You can cool your air temperatures down around the house in the summer and, you know, have a bit of shade under the trees as well, so double bonus. The drought tolerance is another big bonus. I mean, we've never added any water to ours at all. We have a couple of dry summers here and, you know, they lose a few leaves when it gets really dry, but overall, you know, they're great drought tolerant trees, so, you know, even when it's dry, as long as they're established, they'll do just fine for the most part. You know, extreme drought years, you may need a little moisture, but, you know, it's a minor trade-off for the benefits that they give. Another good thing about poplars, they create a lot of biomass. I mean, that can be a good thing or a bad thing, depending on how you look at it, but I look at it as a good thing. Lots of biomass means lots of improvement for the soil, lots of branches that come down for firewood, although it's not the best for firewood out there. Still good, burns good, so yeah, they create a lot of biomass that helps improve the soil. You know, they add a lot of carbon to the soil, and since they're fast growing, you know, with the climate change folk, that captures a lot of carbon, you know, puts it in the ground. Every year it's just hundreds and thousands of leaves come off the poplars, and every year those are cleaning the air, you know, taking carbon out of the air. They also take a lot of particulates out of the air. You know, every time you start a diesel engine up, you see that cloud of black smoke. Well, those leaves are filtering that out. You know, they keep our air clean. There's a study done in the US, again in New York, that found a single poplar tree removes a couple hundred pounds worth of particulate matter out of the air in a single year. I mean, that's a lot, a couple hundred pounds. So, I mean, every tree that you plant does that every year. And we've got, you know, I don't know how many poplars here, but, you know, in a shelter belt we have one every few feet here. And, yeah, I mean, that's a lot of clean air we get from them, so another big benefit. Going back to the firewood, yeah, it doesn't burn the best, but, you know, it's fast growing, so it makes up for the lower quality by higher quantity. I mean, there's not a lot of good firewood trees that can grow up here on the prairies. Yeah, I mean, we can grow ash and things, but, you know, they're a lot slower growing than poplars, so, you know, poplars are one of the top ones that we can grow out here. And, you know, going forward, as energy prices keep going up and up, you know, we're going to have to look for other sources of energy, and poplars can be one of those sources on the prairies just because they grow so fast, create a lot of biomass, and, you know, also help improve the soil and their growing conditions, so very good thing to do. There are some downsides, of course. You know, as I said, there's lots of branches that come down, so, you know, if it's by your house or something, you don't want the branches coming down, so you might want to plant them a little bit further away from buildings. Another thing is, you can see here, you know, they don't have a long lifespan. 50-60 years is quite common in exposed prairie like this, so yeah, we've got a few out here to take down. Lots of ours are coming towards the end of their lifespan, and you know, they'll have to come down at some point, but you know, that's the trade-off to a fast-growing tree. They don't live as long, but you know, the good thing is though, they do sucker a lot, so you know, you can always look at digging up some of the suckers to plant the next generation. Also easy to take cuttings on them too. Do a little bit of that in a future video here, but you know, it's easy to grow new ones, so you know, it's something you can do if you need replacements, is growing yourselves, or of course buy them from a tree farm or a seedling provider. In places like Tree Time will produce tens of thousands of poplar cuttings every year. You know, they're a decent price, but of course they are pretty small, so you know, I have to wait for them to grow up a little bit longer, but you know, that's a good option. Or places like us, we buy the seedlings in and raise them up for you for a few years, so you know, it costs a little more for a larger tree, but you know, I've put in all that time and effort to grow it up instead of you, so You know, it's kind of a trade-off for you, whether you want the extra size or willing to wait and put in the effort to grow it yourself. The other downside to poplar, in the spring, you get all these buds on the ground. They're sticky, they stick to a whole bunch of things. You know, stain your socks, stain your pants. So I'd say avoid planting them where your kids are playing and stuff, because you know, you might lose a few pairs of clothes to that. But you know, that's to me, that's a minor thing. But yeah, I mean, that might be more important to some of you, so something to keep in mind for the poplars. The buds suck, but there's a big trade-off to that too. Talk about that next. The good thing about poplar buds, if you harvest them in the spring before they open up, they are medicinal. You can make a salve from them quite easily, and it's good for healing, so something worth considering as well. You know, the herbal medicine is starting to make a bit of a comeback, you know, for minor things like scrapes and cuts and things. And yeah, well, poplar is one of the things you can use for that, so something else to consider. You know, it can come out in spring and harvest some buds, and sometimes even in the fall. You just have to look if they're sappy and sticky on the outside. So it's that stickiness that you want to harvest. So another good thing to consider going forward is, you know, if shit hits the fan or anything like that, poplars are medicinal. Final thing to mention here, of course, is poplars are great for those with animals too. My sheep, they absolutely love poplar leaves and poplar buds. I'll nibble on them all day. So, you know, if you have animals, poplars can be a great source of alternate feed for them. Another study out of the US showed that cattle can actually be fed up to 10% sawdust, wood shavings, what have you, and it actually showed that growth rates increased with the addition of the wood shavings and sawdust biomass. So yeah, cattle can make use of it. You know, horses can, sheep can, goats can. You know, there's a lot of animals that can benefit from a little bit of poplar food in their diet. So that's another great thing to consider, you know, especially with some of the drought years we've had. You know, hay's been expensive, gone up in price quite a bit, but poplars can help offset that a little bit. Another study out of the US showed dairy cattle could be fed up to 25% of the ration as tree foliage, you know, leaves, branches, wood shavings, 25% before they saw any significant diminishing returns. So, you know, that's a significant portion of their diet that they can get from biomass from the trees if you need to in tough times. So, another great reason to plant poplars. So I think that sums it about up. There's a lot of good reasons you should plant poplars. You know, they're not for everyone, but I think a lot of people have a little bit of anger, upset, whatever you call it, towards them, a little bit unjustly so. So I think, you know, going forward, you should consider planting some more poplars. You know, maybe avoid them around your house, as I said, but yeah, there's lots of great benefits to them. They're a great tree, fast growing, lots of biomass, you know, improve the soil, improve the air, add moisture to the air, you know, and it can feed your animals. So, great tree to have in your garden, in your shelter belt, you know, even in your crop field. You know, plant a few rows of them and save yourself 5% seed and fertilizer and herbicide, yet increase your yield. So, something to consider. Thanks for watching, everyone.